May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our salvation. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth, God saw everything God had made, and indeed, it was very good. In the beginning, we always gather together at the beginning of the week, the first day of the week, and it's supposed to represent for us a new beginning. I'm not sure how you feel, but it doesn't feel much like a new beginning to me. And it certainly doesn't feel very good as God declared God's creation to be. We have made a mess of things collectively. The planet, the creation, the community, our relationships with one another. We often dream of what it would be like if we could have a complete new beginning. And yet in our hearts of hearts, we know that we have to live with the mess we have made of this life. We can't just throw it away and begin again. But that's okay, because mess is where the newness comes from. God always starts with mess. Even that very first beginning started with darkness and a formless void. In this mythical first ever new beginning in Genesis, God says, "Let us make humankind in our own image." Let us. Note, it's a plural. Make humankind. Note, another plural. In our own image. Male and female, God created them. Going back to that first beginning teaches us something about all new beginnings. We were created as a plural by a plural. As community by community. Now today's Trinity Sunday, and it's the day we celebrate that God is not some lonely, distant, monolithic entity, but something that is always and by its essential nature in relationship with its creation. On this day we hear again the story of the first beginning, a beginning that was in relationship with God, with one another, with the creation in which we were placed. We begin then, not as a one, but as many. And we begin not all the same, but different. God created humankind, male and female, God created them. Different, God created them. We're not meant to be the same, but we are meant to be together. The creation of everything is the joining together of things that are different, the heavens and the earth, the plants and the animals, the male and the female, the human and the divine. The icon that is most often used to represent the Trinity is Rublev's icon, also known as the Hospitality of Abraham, and it shows the three persons of the Trinity in conversation. And there's a movement in the icon. The eyes, our eyes, are drawn by the eyes and hands of the figures in the icon. There's a conversation between them. And yet the circle is not complete. There's a gap. The gap at the beginning, at the front of the icon, is an invitation, and it's an invitation for you to enter and join the circle. Our icon is the icon of the Feast of Pentecost, and that's also full of circles, which are symbolic. So this is our own beautiful icon. The first circle, they're semicircles because they're not complete. You can just about see it making its way into the icon here. It's this little semicircle of blue at the top, representing heaven, God, the life of the divine. And the next semicircle is a slightly more prominent black and gloomy semicircle at the bottom, which represents the world. Most of the painting is taken up with this third semicircle in the middle. This is the church, the people of God, the body of Christ. And the job of this lot is to take this circle and join them together. And then heaven and earth and human and divine are once again united and complete. The thing about completing the circle is we can't complete it on our own. And the thing about completing the circle is it's never complete until everyone, and I mean absolutely everyone, is in the circle. Living in that space in the middle, living with the circle radically open, makes us anxious. Anyone can join, anyone can walk in, anyone. And that can be a threat, it can be a challenge. It opens us up to change. And frequently churches deal with this by pretending that the circle is complete when really it isn't. In our gospel, Jesus gives to us, his friends, his people, the task of completing the circle. This week, following the protests at the death of George Floyd, following the publication of the report into the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on Black and ethnic minority communities here in the UK, I have had some really painful conversations that I found uncomfortable and unsettling, conversations that have challenged me, conversations that have made me, again, acutely aware of how incomplete the circle is. If we return to that first beginning, God made us to be together, but not to be the same. God made us different. And we can't be together unless we acknowledge those differences, unless we recognise and value and make space for those differences. We cannot have a space that fits us and assume it fits everyone. And to understand what space is required, we need to talk to one another. Race makes a difference. Gender makes a difference. Sexuality makes a difference. Class makes a difference. Our lived experiences make a difference. We can't just open our doors and do our thing and carry on as usual and hope that the circle will be complete and a new creation will come about all on its own. We're told we have to do the work of building the kingdom, that this is a job to which we are sent. It's a huge and daunting task, and we can feel overwhelmed by how difficult it is, how impossible it is. But it begins, as all tasks do, with but a single step. The artist Ai Weiwei, used to challenging impossible things, says one small action is worth 1,000,000 words. And I can talk, and we can all talk about racial justice in the church until the cows come home. But it's what we do when we leave the church that matters. One small action. So talk to your Black neighbours, friends, relatives, colleagues, about how they are feeling at this moment in time. Whether they feel they are included in the circle of grace. Just talk. Be brave. Start the conversation. Start opening the circle.